Who's the fool who told you boys don't cry? Is the very famous Israeli October 7th Eurovision song. Happy Chanukah, Happy Rosh Chodesh, and Happy New Year! It's not the Jewish New Year, but it is a new year for the world. And the story goes that once one of the Rebbe's secretaries came into the Rebbe's office, and that's knowing commentary, and the Rebbe said to him, Happy New Year. And he said, Rebbe, it's not the Jewish New Year. So the Rebbe quoted a pasuk, a verse in the Torah, Hashem yispar b'chtov amim. God counts as the nations do. So Happy New Year for that. And the whole world heard from another great rabbi that the whole world is contemplating their year and thinking of better resolutions. We could do the same. Look at these big, gigantic snowflakes. They're coming down. They're really big, so I'm gonna try this. My phone camera might get messed up in the middle, but we're gonna get to work on our session over here, and I'll try to make it within 10 minutes or so, because it's a very beautiful, beautiful thought. And let's get rolling. So, in this week's Parsha, we're talking about Yosef. Now, Yosef he's endured 22 years of suffering and pain, betrayal, slavery, imprisonment, everything. His mother died when he was young. The Torah doesn't say a word about Yosef's crying, about his emotions. It just talks about what happened, and that's it. And now suddenly, Yosef cries. Not once, but in this week's Torah, it talks about Yosef crying 7 times in this week's Torah portion. It's no less than 7 times. But if we rewind a bit and realize he's gone through so much, as I mentioned a moment ago, his mother died, his brothers hated him, they tried to kill him, they plotted to kill him, and instead of killing him, they threw him into a pit, and he was sold, falsely accused, imprisoned, and then he rose to greatness. And now, when he meets his brothers, the floodgates open. He cries. So why didn't he cry before? Is the question. The Torah teaches us, Sharei Demaot Lo Nina'alu. The gates of tears are powerful in heaven, and they evoke the divine compassion from God. Just gonna check this out. It's Chanukah. Happy Chanukah. Chanukah in Cleveland. This is the Beulahs. They arranged for the big Chanukah parade. They're rocking. Amazing people. Anyway, so the question is now, since the gates of tears are never locked and they do evoke divine compassion, why didn't Yosef use that in all of his struggles? I'm going to parenthetically throw in a song I can sing while I run from Mordechai ben David. Beautiful song. A child is asking his father, Daddy dear, tell me please, is it true what they say? In the heavens there's a cup that gets fuller each day, and I heard that Hashem keeps it close nearby, and he fills it with his tears each time that we cry. Zaidy told me, Daddy dear, did he tell you the same? That when sorrow strikes his children, Hashem feels all the pain. Tell me why, Daddy dear, tell me why does he cry far away in the sky? Tell me why, Daddy dear, Are there tears in your eyes? Little one, it is true. Yes, it's true. Grandpa told me years ago, and his dad told him too. Fathers cry for their children, and Hashem does the same. Yes, he feels. Yes, he feels all our pain, something like that. Tears of pity from his eyes into this cup sadly flow, till one day when it's full, all our troubles will go. We will dance, we will fly in the sky, you and I cry, little one, because I'm touched by your words. Okay, so now that's a song that demonstrates this idea that tears help. Why didn't Yosef cry during the darkest moments of his life? In a life-changing teaching, the Rebbe says that the answer lies in Yosef's perspective on life. Yosef knew that he had a mission, and his mission wasn't to cry. Excuse me. One moment. His mission was to achieve and to produce and to bring greatness to this world. And crying during those times would just be a distraction for Yosef. Crying has its time and its place. But for the times of challenge, only action is warranted, not crying. And the Rebbe says that we see this in the names that Yosef named his children. He had two children, two sons, the Torah says. Oldest one was Menashe. He named Menashe and Ephraim. And the second one, they relate to his life's journey. Menashe means God had made me, distanced me, made me forget my father's home. God threw me away from where I want to be. This name reflects Yosef's wanting to be near his father's love and the warmth of family. Ephraim, his second son, Ephraim means he made me fruitful. And this focuses on the current situation, despite all the challenges that God circumstanced for Yosef. Yosef focused on achieving his mission and the results and the success. And God put me into this place for a good reason. Yosef said, if God put me here, it's for a reason. What can I do? Now is not the time to cry, it's the time to do. So Yosef, says the Rebbe, teaches us that when we have challenges, we do. We don't cry. If so, why did he cry? So the crying wasn't a self-pitying crying that Yosef had because of the challenges that he endured. Rather, the crying was a crying of joy, a crying of somewhat of a resolution that Yosef saw the fruition of the dreams come true. Yosef saw the brotherhood of his brothers towards him, their dedication to helping Binyamin, his other brother, come back to his father, unlike they were for him. Yosef, the crying begins where Yosef asks his brother Binyamin about his family, and he says he has 10 children, 10 sons. He says, what did you name them? And he starts naming off the names, which are very strange names, Bela, Becher, and many others, Ashbel, Naaman, and all that. It's not like Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So he asks, Yosef asked Binyamin, why did you name them like this? And he said, all these names are for my brother's life's journey. Bela, he was swallowed among the nations. Becher, he was the firstborn. He was the Bechor, etc., etc. So imagine that moment Yosef saw that he wasn't forgotten. His brothers hadn't forgotten about him. They cared about him, especially his brother from the mother. That was a moment of brotherhood. And Yosef then allowed the floodgates of tears of gratitude to flow. So it wasn't that he was crying of sadness or pain. I'm going the wrong way. I'm going to continue that way. He was crying out of gratitude, out of the brotherhood that he saw. The Rebbe teaches us a little bit further about this. He says, when Binyamin and Yosef cried, and they met and they hugged and they cried, the Torah says that they cried on each other's shoulders. And Rashi explains that they cried on each other's shoulders, but each for a different reason. Yosef cried for the sorrow and destruction that would happen later on in the holy temples that were in Binyamin's territory. Binyamin cried for the sorrow and destruction that will happen in the Mishkan, in the temple that would be in Yosef's territory. So they each cried for something in someone else's territory. By the way, I'm here at the Chabad of Cleveland. This is the Waxman Chabad Center. It's our beautiful menorah. We actually brought it from New York. If you can see this, it illuminates the Chabad. OG Chabad place. So moving on. Crying, says the Rebbe, has its place. But oftentimes, you don't have to do anything. And that is exemplified by a story, an interesting story of way back in Russia in the communist times. There was a secretary of the previous Rebbe. His name was Hashem, and he was sitting and having a farbrengen with the Hasidic students, and he was demanding from them to learn Torah more, to pray, to daven deeper with real meaning, and they were moved to tears, and they were crying, and suddenly this farbrengen was in a basement where the communists had forbidden any kind of Jewish activity. So they were hiding in the basement. Suddenly somebody from on top, the watchman, said, "The soldiers are coming. The communists are here." Within seconds, the place dismantled. All the mashka, all the l'chaim was put away, the books were put away, and the boys literally disappeared into thin air. They all disappeared. Where'd they go? A few days later, the mashpia, Rav Chatzafegen, again sat together with his students, and he said, "Look what happened." He says, when we spoke about that you need to learn Torah more, you need to daven more, to pray more, you shed tears, bitter tears, you cried. But when you turn around, go back home. But when you heard that the soldiers are outside, you didn't cry. You acted. You did something. He says, look at the difference. He says, crying makes you feel better and gives you an excuse not to do anything, not to change anything, especially when it comes to bettering your own ways. But it's really action that we need to create results. It's not the crying. And King Solomon said in his infinite wisdom, there's a time for everything. A time to love, a time to hate, a time to laugh, and of course, a time to cry. But when is there a time to cry? Yosef understood, and we too need to, that even in prison, when he saw the butler and the baker's sadness. Got back to where we were when we left off. So I think I left off with Yosef and Binyamin. He didn't explain it. Yosef was crying for the tragedy that was forthcoming in Binyamin's future. Binyamin was crying for the tragedy that was forthcoming in Yosef's future. Why didn't they each cry for their own issues, for their own struggles? Says the Rebbe, and this is the point of this message, that when you have something negative in your own life, Your job is not to cry, it's to fix it. You do what you can to fix it. When you see something negative in someone else's life, and you actually try, do your best to fix it, but there's nothing you can do anymore to fix it, then that's when you cry. You cry to show empathy and to be empathetic, to empathize with others' pain. But your own situation, your own stuff, you're meant to act, not to cry. And this is what Yosef did. He didn't cry for his struggles. He endured them and he prevailed over them, and he channeled the pain into action and transformed darkness into light. And that is also the story of Chanukah. That's what we do. We transform the darkness into light, and we add another candle every day. And according to Beit Shammai, we minimize the darkness every day. So we need less light to illuminate the rest of our lives. God bless you. Let's transform darkness into light. All the best.